So, hi everybody. I'm Dr. Tina Ruff, Health and Wellness. Dr. Tina Ruff. I'm over athletics and health and wellness at Truckee Meadows Community College. I'm coming to you from Reno, Nevada, on the Truckee Meadows campus from our beautiful 20,000 square foot fitness, sports and fitness center. And I also have a co-presenter with me, Olga.
Hi, everyone. My name's Olga Mesina, and I'm the Disability Resource Specialist, as well as Starfish Program Manager at TMTC.
And I'll share a little bit of housekeeping. This is Dane Hawley. I'm the Student Affairs Communications Coordinator at CSN. So hello and welcome to everyone. I'll be your moderator for the session. As a reminder, please remain muted and have your camera turned off throughout the duration of the session. This will help to ensure that the audio and video quality remain consistent. This meeting is being recorded and you will be sent along, it will be sent along to you with the presentation slides at the conclusion of today's event. If you have any questions, please place them in the chat box on the right of your screen, and we will do our best to answer them during the allotted time at the end of the session. Please do not send any questions or messages to the presenters, as they will not see them in the chat function while they are sharing on their screen. So please send them to everyone or a private chat to me. So without further ado, I will turn things over to Dr. Ruff and to Olga.
Thank you so much for having us. And I'm super excited. This is my first time presenting at the NSHE Student Affairs Summit. This is an incredible opportunity. And I felt it was an opportunity for us, TMCC in particular, to really tell our story about how the launch of athletics, and then also some inclusive programming that we've done with our health and wellness program. And then obviously there's some stuff that we had to deal with during the global pandemic when building a program. And so my co-presenter Olga will get into some of that stuff too, to help that we've done to support our student athletes. So my next slide, if I can get this to advance, there we go. I'm just going to scroll up and try to move everybody. Here we go. So right here this is one of our student athletes. And I'm really proud of this picture because it really gives me chills, because it's the fruits of our labor and what we've been able to attain. And there's a lot of building behind the scenes to be able to put our student athletes on that grass field. And so I like this quote by Nelson Mandela: "Sport has the power to change the world. It has a power to inspire. It has a power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair." Nelson Mandela. So that right there is just a symbolic of our program symbolism. On slide 3, this gets into, and this is another one of our student athletes, Malia Weller. She's a local athlete from Reno, Nevada. And then also this is Yalison Espinoza, and a female student athlete from Reno, Nevada, and the impact it's having on our community. And so back in 2017, I was at the University of Nevada as an associate athletics director overseeing 4 sports. And I kept my eye on TMCC because I am a Reno, Nevada native. And the community college has always been something to me where I'd never understood why TMCC didn't have athletics. Well, they did back in 1971 when they were a branch campus of Western Nevada College. Well, fast forward, we had a really, really strong student government association in 16 and 17. And those students led the charge also with the change in a president. So when Dr. Hilgerson came in, the students, those student government associations met with her and was really driven to add athletics. And so what those students did, they took it, and Karin also helped them, Dr. Hilgerson helped them along and said, okay, if we're going to do this, let's poll the students and see what kind of sports they would like to add. And then what they would also be willing to pay within their student fees. And so they did that, and they landed on men's and women's soccer, which makes absolute sense for the city of Reno and Sparks in Northern Nevada. And then also, our students were willing to pay $5 per credit hour. And so what that meant was the $4.50 of that $5 goes to fund the building of the soccer field, which I'll get into, and I'll show you some pictures. And then also the fitness center the beautiful fitness center that I'm sitting in, that houses a gymnasium, a weight room, and some fitness rooms. And the 50 cents that's on that $5 goes to fund the men's and women's soccer operations. And so these are kind of some of the fast facts that I wanted to include in here, is just having the resources to be able to, and Dane, you and I were talking about this prior to the presentation, was it's important to have the resources financially, but it has to be sustainable, meaning you have to have that income all the time coming in from student tuition and fees. And so with future growth of our program, we will then, because after this next fall of 2021, we'll have already had played 3 seasons of soccer, which has gone by so fast for me. And so then we start to look to the future and find ways to really communicate with our leadership. My boss is Stella Gutierrez, and then really working with SGA, Student Government Association again, and really working with our students to decide what makes sense for TMCC for us to add. And then my last bullet point is inclusivity from the start. And I know for me, that is very, very important, because when you're on a community college campus that has never had athletics, in most people's minds, they haven't had it. I mean, like I said, there's a history there, but that's not right in the front of people's mind. There wasn't athletics, and now there's athletics. And you really, really need to include everyone you possibly can to be on your team. And so that's what and not just the money, you need the resources, you definitely need the people. And TMCC has done a fantastic job of wrapping their arms around athletics. And there's going to be naysayers, of course, but for the most part, it's an opportunity for the state of Nevada for TMCC to really recruit prospective student athletes from the state of Nevada to come and compete in their sport. And it's been fantastic. So, and Malia and Yallison and Wilmer is this Wilmer kid right here, the student athlete, is also from the state from Reno, from North Valleys, and he is doing really well on our team. Building new facilities. So I talked about the $5 credit hour, and the $4.50 goes to the facilities. So to have athletics and to really build a solid foundation on our campus, we built this soccer field, and you can see it's literally a green oasis there. This picture up in the left-hand corner, right here where my cursor is the ribbon cutting that we had August 15th of 2019. And that was one of the most fantastic events we've held on our campus. And you can see that the field is right there. The green grass is all lined for our game that day. And then this is just an aerial shot of that field that sits right east of our campus. And it has lights. It's a fantastic facility. It's the best in the Scenic West. That's the conference we play in. And then another gem that I'm really, really proud of is our fitness center. And so this is the front desk check-in area. And we have it, our students are free technically, but they pay for it through their fees. And so they don't really have to come in and do a monthly membership. We allow them to come in and work out as they wish. And then this is the front of the actual building here. So the reason I put the facilities on here is it's really important to have that infrastructure in those areas for people to really glom onto and really see that TMCC has done it the right way. And then also these facilities gives us in health and wellness an opportunity to grow our physical education course offerings. And it also allows us to then go into a space that I'm really excited to go into is intramurals, which would be our students competing up against faculty, or faculty against faculty, or students against students. And that gives us an opportunity for our students to stay on campus and really want to play a sport that they, in between classes, or it could be after class, but it keeps them on campus. So that's a space I want to venture into eventually. And then also, we don't have drop-in classes just yet for our membership at the fitness center. And we're going to venture into that space as well. We're going to do a couple pilots this summer with Zumba and probably like a circuit training and probably self-defense or boxing. I'm working with some of our part-time instructors to get that underway. But the point is, you have to have the facilities. They're beautiful. People love it. They love coming to the fitness center. They're excited to be back on campus. And that just helps bolster our health and wellness program. And also the athletics, it helps advance our athletics. The field can also be used for intramurals too, and I'm excited to hopefully get some of that underway. So
and having the fitness center on campus is superb for faculty as well.
Mhm.
It's easy to just walk down there, get your workout in, walk back to the office, and there's no additional issues with parking or all those types of things too.
Thanks, Olga. That's perfect. Coming from somebody who's visiting the gym with, coming to visit me every day in the gym. So thank you for that. So starting an athletics program on a community college campus, and I always say it takes a village. It's just not the leader, the person who's deemed the director of athletics. It's really, it takes a ton of people on your team. And that's where I was really talking about the collaborative effort and really setting in motion the wraparound services. And so our vice president, Estela Gutierrez, has done a fantastic job of rallying the troops and getting them on the team to really support. And so usually typically at a 2-year college, it's the athletics director and then the coach or the coaches. And then eventually you'll wind up getting an assistant to help with all the management of the operations. And then the biggest part for me was getting the right coach and hiring the right coach to run the program. And right now we're able to get Jeff Hawkins, who was at College of Southern Nevada in Las Vegas in Henderson, to come up and become our head coach. And he is the head coach of both of our men's and women's team. And he has a lot, he's got his plate full. He's actually just left this morning with both teams to head to Salt Lake City. And so best of luck to them. But anyway, so being collaborative and inclusive, and then what that means as far as strategic planning and planning events is we really collaborate with marketing communications, our facilities department. I mean, everywhere across the board, we have to collaborate with student services. And then when we're planning events, it's the same situation. We are always, we have to use all of our resources because it just can't be the director and the coach creating those events. And so we always meet, we always plan. And I will tell you, being at Truckee Meadows Community College, it hands down, the details are unbelievable when people are, okay, Tina, do you need this? Do you need this? Do you need this? Okay, have you thought about this? It's just right down to it. Like I said, that picture at the bottom right here on this screen is really an indication of how it brought, soccer to TMCC. But that event is that day. It was so much fun. And then strategic planning, I kind of skipped over that, but the strategic planning part of it was I included, because it was in fall of 19 when I first got hired. The first part I really hit the ground running was we need to get a strategic plan in place, and met with I met with the VPAA, Vice President for Academic Affairs. I met with Stella, VP SD, Student Services and Diversity, and really went through the strategic plan. And then we included our students and we included some alumni in different areas. And so they really had buy-in on what we stood for as an athletics program. And then, like we said, it's important to get the right people on the team to help support. I think I already covered this earlier, but you want to include everyone. It's a team effort, because when you're having games, you want people to rally around the home team and you want them to come cheer you on. And it's always about the students. And so the one thing that I know in my heart here at TMCC is every time we think of a situation, or we think of whether it's athletics or it's health and wellness, or it's advising, or it's Olga and the DRC and working on homeroom or anything, it's always student focused. I know when faculty senate or any planning council or cabinet meetings, it's always about the students. And I think that's really important to always keep that in the frame. And then this slide is, again, more about it takes a village, and now really kind of narrow focusing on the student services part of it and who actually is part of our academic success team. And those individuals come from the admissions and records office, where it's Andy Hughes is the executive director of admissions and records, and he sits on our compliance team. And then there's financial aid, where Dr. Leslie Gia, she heads up financial aid, but she has someone named Susan Elby who is on our academic success team and helps us with financial aid and works through anything that the student athletes might need as a resource. Counseling services, executive director Joan Steinman, she has done a fantastic job of getting Melanie Purdy to be our, and Kristen DeMay to be our student athlete liaisons. Academic advising, Tara Conley and Jen Pierce are our academic advisors. They don't specifically just do athletics. They A part of their position is to assist athletics, but they do all other students as well. And DRC, Olga is our connection. Olga, who's actually my co-presenter, Mesina, she's done a fantastic job with working with our student athletes and also implemented a concept called homeroom, which she'll get to. And our head coach, Jeff, is obviously on that team, and then myself. So that's our academic success team. And then I put a picture in here of Estella Gutierrez, our vice president, and then Karen, our president. Those two have really been they're mentors to me, but they're also very good guides in leadership and what makes sense for TMCC and, you know, just the timing of things. And we are constantly having conversations. And then the picture is Efren Mierga Gutierrez. He's from Las Vegas, Nevada. A fantastic kid, great kid, and we love having him on the squad. And then the last, I think is almost my last slide until I get to Olga's support services, is my core team that I meet with every week. Now, I can't say it's my core team, but it's the core team for TMCC and athletics. This is my most important team right here. And they are the pulse of where we're headed. And they helped me create the code of excellence, the code of conduct, but we want to call it the code of excellence. And this team is admissions and records. Like I said, it's Andy Hughes, who's the registrar. And then he has an assigned individual within admissions and records. His name's Archites. And this is Archites right here. And then Tara is our academic advisors. And you can tell they are like, they love what they do. And this is Archites as well, holding his compliance folders. So the admissions and records group, they help us, they keep a pulse on compliance, because when you're in the NJCAA, the National Junior Collegiate Athletics Association, there's a lot of rules and regulations that we have to abide by as far as eligibility and what we can and can't do. And so they are the check and balance, and they don't report to athletics. And so that is important when you're building a program, is you have a check and balance on the athletics director. You don't ever want there to be any pressure to get a kid eligible. You don't want there to ever be any pressure and to just go make it happen or pay that kid. That is, you just can't give kids money, or when I say kids, sorry, the student athletes. So that was really important that we had that infrastructure in place. Then the other one is academic advising. Tara is right here, and Jen Pierce was in the picture, but they assist us in making sure that our student athletes are in the correct classes. We get priority registration so we can ensure they get in their correct classes, and then they have time for practice as well. And then Olga Mesina, who's on here, she's definitely on the compliance team. We didn't have her originally when we were building this, and then eventually we made the decision to add her and the homeroom and the DRC onto this group, because it was really important that we wrapped our arms around our students and helped assist them. And Olga will get into more of what that's about. And then our head coach obviously is Jeff Hawkins, and then myself. And I, under the pandemic, you can see the picture, all of us right there in the what you call it, the Zoom room, and us having our meeting. We love what we do. We love talking about our student athletes. We like building this program, and we really have a good time. And Olga, I'm going to turn this over to you for a little bit.
Sounds good. Tina, for the biggest thing that we did was bringing me on board, right? So I think part of it was we had a student that needed to ask for an adjustment on their academic enrollment, and that can be done through a disability. And so we partnered up, and in realizing and having these conversations, there was a lot of students that hadn't connected with the DRC but could qualify for the DRC. And so that was one of the main reasons, was the outreach of support services. And so a lot of times when students come onto a college campus, they bring some of the stigma from K-12 if they were involved in special education. And so to kind of change their perspective, I was brought on board. I'm part of the team. I'm down there at the gym quite often, down at the field when they're practicing, just part of someone. And so if they need to then speak to me and then disclose, or they just know that I'm available, it really has opened up those lines of communication. And we've connected quite a few of our students to receiving services for things that they had already had in K-12, but now felt comfortable disclosing and talking about it in higher education, which is a huge win for us, I say. And one of the other things that we do is, my other role is as a Starfish manager, and we use the Starfish program. It's an early alerts academic a compliance type program where faculty, it has a lot of different tools. So one of the major ones that we use is faculty are able to raise flags, so academic warnings, or they can give kudos, which are attaboy, attagirls, that type of a deal where it's an encouragement for the students that are doing well academically, as well as referrals. So the referrals can be to the DRC, the referrals can be for tutoring, it can be for counseling. And so one of the really great things is we've partnered with student athletics in order to do progress reports. And so these progress reports are done 3 times during the semester. And this is to ensure the eligibility component, right? And then we discuss the flags as to what's going on. I address the flags with the students along with Jeff. We partnered up where I do the conversations with the faculty, and then he does the conversations with the student. And so this way, one more level of this way, there's no influence from academics or athletics onto the academic side. So we kept that very separate, where I communicate with the faculty, letting them know, thank you for raising the flag. We're going to go ahead and address this with the student. Once coach goes ahead and speaks to the student, they resolve the issue. If I need to step in with any strategies or study skills, I do. And then we go ahead and close out the flag and update the faculty. And so this has been a really great partnership because it's utilizing the services that we have on campus, as well as being able to provide the services that otherwise students are expected to have, but sometimes they don't know how to generalize those skills from K-12 into higher education. And so the other thing that we do is working a lot with tutoring and learning. And so the skills in homeroom, we do it a lot quite often within the library system, and within our library is also where our tutoring and learning center is. So it's a great combination of being there, and then if they need tutoring, being able to walk them over and show them how to do their tutoring appointments. And as we've gone virtual, we'll go over that a little bit differently because obviously the process has changed. We had to pivot and be able to adjust to everything being online. But having the tutoring and learning center in the same location where we're meeting just makes it part of the routine. And we coordinate a time for the homeroom when the students are able to. This semester, it's Fridays at 8 a.m. And then afterwards, we tend to have workshops or at 9 a.m. if relevant, or then they go and start practice. And they're usually on campus till about noon because that's what's worked for everybody thus far. And then some students have elected to do homeroom on Saturdays. Our one student that's in Hawaii, she is doing it on Saturdays because the 8 a.m. for her time, I believe it's either 5 or 6 a.m., depending on the time change, right? So it's really being flexible for the needs of the students. And right now with everyone doing remote, I figured it would be a lot more, I would get a lot further if we spoke at an actual hour she's awake and the sun is up, than 5 o'clock in the morning her time. So this has just really been a great collaborative to be able to offer these skills that we normally only offer within the DRC and to our DRC students. And like I said, it's opened up the doors of and the lines of communication. So students have been coming and actually requesting services that they are eligible for and entitled to from K-12, but just weren't sure, like I said, felt the stigma from K-12. So a lot of times it really just being a part of their environment, a part of their community, really does open up those lines of communication where then students go, well, in actuality, I had an IEP or I had a 504 plan, and here's the disability. I just don't want anybody to know, right? So we provided the criteria for homeroom based on academics, and there's a lot of students that are in there just because they like the routine. So we have 2 students currently in there that just appreciate the routine of there's this accountability piece, right? So on Fridays we meet, we go over their weekly schedules. We talk about strategies for creating a study guide because it's finals time, right? We're talking about what is it, those final projects, and then chunking them up as to different steps. So we start with the end in mind as far as like, here's the final project, let's go backwards. And then what reading do you need to do? Where are your references coming from? Have you done your outline, first draft, second draft, third draft? And then are you going to the tutoring center? Are you submitting your papers so that they can get reviewed? Are you using smart thinking for your grammar and those types of things? So it's really just being able to, because sometimes students get into have vision where it's just tunnel vision. So it just becomes, well, I need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, but they don't think of the outside resources or planning ahead because they're living in the day, and I need to do one thing and then working a job or sometimes working 2 jobs in order to make their college dreams happen. So it just really is at giving them those additional resources and that macro systems support, but doing it more on a one-on-one basis. And then for the support during COVID-19, it was a lot having to do with COVID-19, and me and Tina are going to go over this together. So counseling services was really instrumental. We lost our assistant coach, and that was really difficult for the whole team, right? And this was the first impact that we had as far as a college where we were all affected, right? Because we were hearing that people were getting sick, people weren't getting sick. And then it just really became something that was personal and something that we all became very, very aware of when we lost coach. And so some of our students have lost family members and have lost multiple family members as well. So really talking about grief, and Melanie did an amazing job coming and presenting to the students as a group and talking about grief, and then being able to just have students express what's going on, talk about what they were going through. And we're actually going to be doing a check-in with the students and Kristen just to see how they're doing, because the loss of family, the loss of some of the students have actually been exposed to COVID, and because they, like I said, they're working 1, 2 jobs, and they've, those lasting effects. Being in quarantine also has had an effect on many students' mental health. And so really, how is that affecting our student athletes as well? Because many times they all travel together, right? So having it's usually all the female soccer students are together going around and doing all their classes and talking, hanging out together, and the same thing with our men's, and sometimes they do things together as well. But it's just they're in their little packs, right? And that's their social support. That's everything that in order to make their goals, whether it be academic or on the field. And right now, a lot of times that's not really happening. And so they're having to complete their classes online, where this is an academic forum that, a lot of people struggle with. And that's just, the truth of the matter, where this is a learning style where you have to be very, very self-disciplined, very self-motivated, knowing how to find the different pieces of information you may need. And because every faculty member can create their class differently. So it's just really learning how to do the information, your reading comprehension skills, being able, like I said, your time management, and being able to manage yourself pretty well, where if you're working 2 jobs, you're worrying about this, or if you've lost people or you yourself have gotten COVID, that adds so many extra layers that it's become, something that really has impacted our team overall. And then we do the weekly team meetings, and then also meetings with coach. And so what's really been helpful is, and Jeff and students will definitely tell you this, that they really love and appreciate Jeff, because he meets with them one-on-one, right? He's able to talk to them about the academics of what's going on. He's able to get to the root of the issue. He's very, very patient with them. And, when he needs to, he can be stern, but for the most part, he's really, really patient, very giving of himself, of his time. He's always here on campus, or, doing something for athletics. So that's been an amazing support for them to have. And then do you want to talk about the chalk activity?
Yeah. So we also felt like, and along with those weekly team meetings and individual meetings with coach, keeping them motivated and keeping them going. And so the chalk activity on campus was all a chalk mural in our quad. We had some men's players and some women's players, and they kind of competed against each other when they showed up. Of course, they're pretty competitive, but it got them out in the sunlight. It got them on campus. It got them to kind of collaborate with each other and do something that was more of a collective effort. And then I'll just cover the heart math. So also, along with Melanie Purdy right here in the bottom right-hand corner, she's one of our counselors. She put on a heart math activity where the students were able to talk about what was stressing them and what really was what was their fears about COVID. And it was really a nice sharing effort. And then also, like, she turned it the next session of what they were doing positive, what's coming out of COVID that's positive for them. And so that was a great opportunity for them to share with each other. And then the stress management session and a visualization workshop. And then this photo shoot right here on the top left. So Jeff was able to corral a bunch of our athletes in TMCC gear and masks. And this is Kate, who works in marketing communication, and myself taking a selfie with Jeff right here. So if you ever see if you're on our campus and you see a lot of the marquees that we have around, we have a lot of slides that are going through, and it's a professional photo shoot. Many of them are student athletes that are students walking through campus or sitting under a tree or laying on the grass around campus. But this was a great activity for them to be involved with our campus community and for them to show up on campus and be with their teammates, which was a big deal. And like I said, keeping the student athletes motivated and looking forward to was key for us. And then getting the student athletes on campus to train was also important. And we went through a lot of protocols. We did a video showing what safety protocols we were going through to be able to be on campus. We test our kids. We're still testing our athletes weekly on COVID-19. They all get the PCR. If they have been fully vaccinated, they can show me that they've been fully vaccinated. We don't need to test them any longer. But we really got out in the front with what athletics was doing COVID-19 wise. We told a story, we showed the video, and then also we're showing what we were doing on campus with masks and practice and such. And then really super proud of this. It's also part of a traditional athletics program, and it really shows the legitimacy of it when you have your own mascot. So this right here in the middle is Mighty the Lizard. And this was, again, I always take this back to inclusivity and collaboration. And so this was a big collaborative effort to ensure that we got the right look, gender neutral mascot, just like Wizard the Lizard. So yeah, this is super fun. We did a big reveal on our website, and we did a huge video and a story on it. And so that launch was also something too for us to look forward to and really put out on social media to tell our story and to be a part of our program. Fun pictures. And then I'm gonna turn this over to Olga.
Okay, and so just touching back on mental health during COVID, really it's been impactful. It's been impactful for students across the board, but mental health, it's really taken a dive because students are now going back to their homes where it may or may not be supportive of whom they are. Their peers are not going to be as available to them if they are available, right? So do they have access to the same technology system or supports as their peers? And so really that's affected their ability to access mental health services, mental health supports. And so in general, we have about 65% of students that report having poor mental health. And so really it was important to take a look on this image right here as far as talking about who students say that they really rely on when they're on a college campus. And so talking about the student athletes coming and interacting with each other, it's really, really important to have students really around their peers, really around their friends, because they are their immediate support system, right? And so whether they're doing whatever they might be doing, if they're first generation, let's say, having somebody, their peers understand the rigors of the process versus they may not have the support at home, or they don't have the understanding of, well, what are you doing up so late and why are you studying so long, right? And so as a first generation student, I could definitely understand that. I was blessed because my mom didn't quite understand, but she trusted me, right? Because I definitely closed down the library more than once at 12 o'clock. And so it really does help to have the responses that we've been able to do. So having the connection with the counseling center, with my office, where if this is an ongoing situation and their mental health is starting to affect their daily living, then having them see their doctor or their counselor, providing the documentation so that they can get accommodations. These are systems that we're connecting students to, reminding them that they have the access to this, because it really does affect the grades, right? And so it really makes a difference when we're able to step in person, but because we're not in person, having to pivot and offer these services online and being able to access Kristen, right, for the grief support, along with all the other counselors, Erin, Marcia, and Kristen, and Melanie when she comes back. That's really, they know who they are because they come over, they do presentations for them. They can see who they are. And once again, it's about being in their circle, being in their social environment. So if they feel the need, then they can go and reach out to them. Because if we look at this, if only 15% of students say that they've engaged in counseling, but this is why we're trying to change that and offer that, as far as it being something like, hey, this is my friend Kristen. She works in this department. I really trust her. Please, I want you to consider talking to her. And when they're in a visit with me for their services or their accommodations, I can then transfer them to an appointment with Kristen. So it's really been beneficial the way that we're trying to offer the services, which is a pivot in order to kind of go against what the services are nationwide, to ensure that we're providing adequate supports for our students, because we know, that a lot of our students are being affected by the pandemic. We don't have a lot of services in Northern Nevada when it comes to mental health, or some of the services are definitely cost prohibitive, where a session can be $150 to $300 an hour. That's something that not everybody is able to afford, right? If you don't have insurance. So it's definitely something that where this is part of your student fees, educating our students to utilize counseling and being able to say, this is something that we know, this is an individual that's trusted by us. Please go and see them, or they're coming to us. Do you need some time one-on-one with them? Right. And so it just really is beneficial that Tina has made us a part of the team, and we're just a part of the fiber of athletics. So it's just really been something that we're going to try, and we realize that these are the statistics, that this is what's going on nationwide. However, here's where we're trying to change that for our TMCC athletes and our students across the board. Quite honestly, our counseling center definitely has activities that are available online as well as in person when they're on campus, where it's just talking. And, maybe that can lead to, hey, I need this, or hey, I need that. Knowing that our center on campus is something that is open and welcoming. And then, we also talk about health and wellness and make that more of a holistic approach, where we're talking about the athletics piece, right? So it's not just, if you're an athlete, then you're welcome. I really appreciate and love hearing stories where students that are not athletes take some of our PEX classes and are able to start, getting, because they would eventually like to be on the team. And so that would be something that is fantastic, but they realize that they need to approach it from a holistic perspective. They have the academics, they have those pieces, but as an athlete, they're not quite there yet, right? But this is something where we can still offer opportunities to engage them. And we all know that exercise goes well with mental health, being that if you exercise, it gets those good endorphins going, and it really does help in most, if not all, situations, to incorporate some walking, being out in nature, talking about things. And it just really is something where we're trying to focus on the holistic aspect of the students, not just their athletic abilities.
Thanks, Olga.
Mhm.
So the next slide is what I'm talking about is we start a program, we have one season, and then we go under a global pandemic. And so we pivot, and I know Olga had used the word pivot a few times, is we had to pivot and really look at how can we show the community that we're still relevant, and that, woohoo, we're still up here. We still have an athletics program. We've only played one season, but we're really keeping our student athletes motivated. We're working with them on their mental health. We're really trying to keep going and continue our momentum that we just built up. And so our coach had done a fantastic job of continue recruiting and promoting the program, constantly talking to prospective students from Las Vegas and Nevada and California and what have you, and from Hawaii and Utah, outlying states. And then we worked with our marketing communications and our sports information, our part-time sports information student that I was able to acquire from the University of Nevada, because this TMCC for athletics is like a training ground for somebody who really wants to get into the athletics. And so I took Emil Guzman, on as an intern, student intern, and oversaw him. And then he was so good at what he does, I hired him as a part-time hourly employee, and he has crushed it with our marketing, our communications, telling our story. And so our social media channels are always flooded with stuff that we're doing, because it's important, because prospective student athletes are always on Instagram, not necessarily on Twitter, but and then also on Facebook, but Instagram's a big hot one for us to put fresh content out there. And then also we have our website, which I put a picture of it right here, with all of our game recaps. But when we weren't playing, we were telling our student athletes stories. We were telling what we were doing to mitigate COVID-19. And so we met frequently. We still meet every Monday, and I meet with Emil every Thursday. And so we're constantly churning out information that's important, that we are, like I said, telling our story. And then I now am actually traveling Emil with the team to get him experience, to be around a program, and then be able to write the stories and be able to tell the intimate stories of our players. So like if they're on the road and they have a picture, he can put out a tweet. And then now we're coming up on the year anniversary, which is this Sunday, of the death of Gonzalo Lopez, our assistant coach. And Emil wasn't around the program around that time. He didn't really know Gonzalo, but he and I had a meeting yesterday, and he says, being that I'm the two teams journalist, basically telling the story, I want to, make sure we're going to put it out there that a year ago we lost our coach, but he's also being very thoughtful about those student athletes who Gonzalo impacted, which was all of them, but he was a goalkeeper coach. And so we're probably going to put out a quote from one of our male goalkeepers and then our female goalkeeper, and the impact this individual had on their lives. But these are the types of conversations we're having to put out to the local and national media, because prospective student athletes are always looking at our program and wanting to come play for a really good program. And if they look at it, it's professional, it's well done, we're telling the story, they're more apt to come and play for us. And we also want our TMCC campus community to be proud of our product that we're putting out there, and that it's professional. And then also, I just always have said this, we are inclusive of our marketing communications team, because we want to make sure our messaging in athletics is in alignment with what our overall institution's mission is. And so if something doesn't seem in line with that, or the message seems a little bit tone deaf or what have you, we have those conversations. So it's, like I said, it's a collective message. So that's been very important to me, and also our marketing communications team. The last slide I want to touch on is health and wellness, and Olga touched on the holistic part of that. And so when I got hired, I'm like, well, health and wellness is part of my title, and I'm also over the physical education at PEX. And so I brought together a lot of different people to really try to, because we kind of had different pods and silos. So we're really working hard to bring it together. And so we brought those groups together, we built the new facilities. And so we did have a wellness committee, and we still do, but we now have renamed it the Health and Wellness Committee. We just recently legitimized it, having it and memorialized the committee to report up through Planning Council, which is a shared governance structure under Dr. Hilgerson, our president. And then we plan annual wellness initiatives and events to include the whole campus community. An example would be we did a Facebook Live series, and you can see the little promotion that we did back in last year. We really were trying to focus on everything that TMCC had to offer, and one of them was this Facebook Live series on what we're doing health and wellness wise. Talking about new facilities, it gives us new opportunities. I talked about the 20,000 square foot beautiful fitness center that we have here. We have some fitness rooms. We have a gymnasium that can house, you can do dodgeball, you can do men's and women's basketball, you can have intramurals in there, you can do volleyball, you can have all kinds of sports in there. Dwayne Manning, who's one of our instructors, our PEX instructors, he actually works people out in the gym. So you have a massive space, you have a huge opportunity. Like I said earlier, I want to go into the space of drop-in classes in the fitness center, and then future growth would be intramurals and club sports, because I think that's important to the student experience on a college campus. And then when they do experience those, they wind up going to the University of Nevada, or they go to another college or another university, and they experience those also as well on those. So they're familiar with the intramurals, the club sports and all, what have you. Partnerships on campus within the wellness framework and events. We partnered with SGA, our free group, public health, the degree with public health, and then counseling team. And we include staff. We sent out a TMCC fit. We did this under the pandemic, and we're going to stick with it. We love our Tuesday email that goes out. That goes to all of our TMCC constituents, and we talk about some of our staff wellness journeys. People tell their story, what they did to become what was important to them in their wellness, and them telling that story, because everyone's story is different, right? What wellness means to them. And so that's been really, really well received. And then also, I already talked about the weekly wellness communication. And then what else? Let's see, we did the wellness tips right here. That's kind of a picture on the right-hand corner. This is us meeting. This is our president, Dr. Hilgerson. This is meeting, and we all did an act. This is our vice president. This is Joan Steinman, Stephanie in IR, institutional research, and then Christine in our foundation office. So it's a group of us got together and we engaged in this activity off campus, which was kind of fun to collaborate on. But that's just another situation where we got together and we're able to communicate and do something under the umbrella of wellness. And then the last slide is just to sum it up. You know, we have a female soccer player from Reno, Nevada, from Truckee, California. And then we have Ryan Rutherford, and this is Isa Gonzalez, and this is Ryan Rutherford. He's from Reno, Nevada, actually Sparks from Spanish Springs. Two great kids. The future is bright for both, obviously for TMCC and for athletics, and for the future of our health and wellness program. Anything else?
We are at our time for 11:18, and we want to make sure we leave enough time for questions. If there's any in the audience.
Do we have?
I think we lost our host. Yes.
Oh, we have Estella and we have Carlos. Hi, guys.
Hey, I don't have a question. I just have a comment that I got hired in October 2017. And I remember when I got hired, Yuli told me about the soccer team, about the sports complex, about everything. And I mean, at that time, I wasn't sure if it was happening or not. You know, people say stuff, but I'm so happy to see it, to see the field, to see the soccer, to see the players. For you, Tina, to be here at TMCC and just having this wonderful team, and Olga. And just like you mentioned, I remember being there at the opening day ceremony, and it was just a wonderful day. And yeah, thank you so much for everybody and your team. And as a recruiter, whenever I'm out in the community, telling them about the soccer team, everyone was just so excited for Reno Sparks and the whole community. So you guys are doing a great job, and thank you so much.
Well, thanks for that. And I know you're a great ambassador of TMCC too, Carlos. And so we appreciate that. And anytime you can plug the athletics program, it's an opportunity for local. I mean, we have recruited the state of Nevada heavily, and I think it's just a tribute to Jeff and our former coach too, but the tribute to Jeff really hitting the road, really getting buy-in, and really showcasing a professional program that they can, not a professional as an athlete, professional athlete, but a professional looking program for them to come and really want to get their first part of their college career done. And let's move them on to the university or to another school, what have you, or whatever their goals are. If it's a certificate, awesome. Like they can play 2 years of college soccer and then boom, move into a trade, which is amazing. So
yeah, and that's been one of the biggest things, that the emphasis in academics, it's not for show. It's definitely something that we strive for. We work really hard on, and we really want it to showcase when it comes, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know if Dane's going to come back in here. Well,
I think we can pause the recording though.
We can.
There's no other questions.